Well, good evening. I'm Rick Dancer. Welcome to Get Real with Rick Dancer. It's great to have you here. We're going to do something a little different tonight. Um, I wrote on the intro there that I'm kind of burned out on political stuff and um, God, just the economy and everything. Doesn't mean I'm going to stop talking about it. So if any of you are getting hopeful that, I'm going to leave it alone, it's like, no, I'm going to treat that like a booger on my finger and I'm not going to shake it off. I'm just going to keep doing it. But I'm a little tired of all of that. And so tonight, I've had a whole bunch of conversations with people recently about relationships, about life, and we're just going to have a conversation. And so tonight's show is brought to you by New Leaf Hyperbarics and Wellness Center. Matt McCarl. Just had an interview with him today. We were talking about inflammation. I had no clue that inflammation was the beginning of so many things, and especially as we get older, and how much not taking care of that can be a problem. So I'm going to be airing that just as a story on my page in the next couple of days. So you can be looking for that. But that's Matt McCarl at New Leaf. I love going in there. I like having my treatments. I'm really kind of preferential to the light therapy that they do. I don't know why. It's just, I think because it's like me. It's 20 minutes, you're in and you're done. And as a reporter, I go in, I do my story, and I get out. Our other sponsor tonight is Chris Dental Family Dentistry, Michael Bratlin, my dentist. And the last time I was in here, I don't often, well, I guess I do, but anyway, Michael gives me the newest thing. So I had a Sonictrol electric toothbrush. And when I was in there, Michael goes, no, get the Oral-B. So he gave me this. See, I'll show you that. See the little Oral-B like that? So I get, not to get over personal, but this is something you need to know about me. Within 3 days of going to the dentist, which I did when I was back there to Dr. Bratlin, I start getting plaque buildup on the back of my teeth. I do everything. I floss, I do everything I can, but I get this buildup back there. This thing is like badass killer. You can look in there right now. It is smooth as silk, and it's been a week. So Dr. Bratlin knows what he's talking about. My only problem is that when it turns on, it comes on Chinese, and I don't read Chinese, so I don't know what it's saying. But fortunately, it has a little picture too to tell me what I'm doing. And my wife looked at me. She goes, "Mine says English," and it's like, well, no, mine's Chinese, so I'm learning Chinese, I guess. But this Oral-B, you should go ask him why it's so good. It's kind of spendy, but I'll tell you what, that sucker is doing everything. And then our other, it's not really a sponsor because Tim works with me and he's my guest tonight, the Green Theory deodorant. This is the best stuff. Now, you do have to leave it on your skin a little bit, but you can put it on, and it's got beeswax. Everything in it's good for you. And I use it every day. And the women follow me. You want a date? GT. It means something. And joining me is the creator of Green Theory is Timmy. How you doing, Tim?
Oh, good. How are you, Rick?
I'm doing really well. But you guys, we're not going to just talk about deodorant and stuff.
No.
Because Tim and I had a conversation yesterday. And we thought, let's just have a conversation that people can get involved in. And you guys' questions and your opinions and your ideas all matter. They come in here. So I'm going to read my little thing first here. So I'm watching Chris Williamson, right? You looked it up. It's Williamson, right?
Yes, Williamson.
Yeah. And Joe Rogan had a podcast this morning, and they were talking about culture today. And they said, we used to be judged on our deeds. So in other words, on what you did, you were judged. If you were successful, if you took care of people, you were judged on your deeds. Now we're judged on what we say or believe. So if I believe that masks are stupid, I'm judged on that. I'm not judged on the fact that I'm helping people, I'm doing things for people, I'm taking care of my community. I moved to Townsend. I'm trying to find out what they need, what from me. I'm not judged on any of that. It's all based on one thing, what I believe. And it says, and it goes on to say, the problem is you can do nothing and say you're doing everything, and people will believe whatever you tell them.
Yeah.
And that's a huge problem. I mean, don't you think, Tim? I mean, I think that's just because then you wonder why people don't have any trust in the truth. They don't even know what the truth is anymore.
No, I mean, it's everything is completely separated, and I think the addition that I would add to that is people will also believe what other people tell you about other people.
Oh, for sure.
You
Right.
know, I mean, it doesn't even come straight from the horse's mouth anymore.
And
You
you and I
just
both
get,
have experience in this because facts don't seem to matter. It's just your perception.
yeah,
And
right.
and remember that old saying that if you tell a lie enough, it becomes the truth. Well, it
Yep.
doesn't really become the truth, but it becomes someone's version of the truth.
Yeah, exactly.
So how
And
is that harmful, do you think, to people in our general culture? What is that doing to people?
well, I think largely we have basically de-individual. That's not even a word, but de-individualized people, as that quote alluded to to whatever their belief is. You know, whatever something they've said, the worst thing that they've done, and they become just that. We're not looking at the whole picture with people at all anymore. It's one facet of them, and because they might think differently than us, have a different belief than us, then for some reason they're wrong. It's almost turned into like a larger version of xenophobia, don't you think?
Oh God, yeah, yeah. I mean, and then what you can do is people don't care anymore if you belittle someone. Like, look what they did to Joe Rogan or tried to do to Joe Rogan.
Right.
So he's a guy who I think is about as fair as you can be, and he
I
admits
agree.
he's wrong, and he says, "I'm not the smartest guy in the world," but they're afraid of him asking questions. And so if it doesn't line up with what everybody wants to think, then it's like, okay, we're going to say Joe Rogan believes this, and then it automatically becomes true. And that the worst part is the media then jumps on that with a
Yeah.
headline and
Yep.
doesn't explain it.
Right. Right. And so I think that the good question to ask is what's the root of all of this? Like, where does it stem from, and how does that mindset, um, become propagated? Like, what started it, and how is that continuing to be a thing? I have an idea. I have a theory
Okay,
on it.
tell me. I want to know your theory. This,
And
since
this
you are
started
green
as a
theory,
conversation. Yes.
Tim, we
Yeah.
can have a whole show just Green's theory.
The
And
theories.
people,
Yes.
people will think we're
Exactly.
doing like an environmental show.
Absolutely. Uh, to me, I, I have been thinking about this in the last week, and I saw. I don't watch TV, but I was over at a friend's house the other day, and there was a news segment on how I actually don't even know the result of this, so I'm sure somebody could weigh in. The city council was weighing whether they should ban fireworks or not completely,
This is
right?
Eugene. This is Eugene City Council. I've heard it
Yeah, in
twice.
Eugene. Yep.
People are screaming mad about it.
Yes. And I will be the first one to admit that I don't like fireworks being like, the 4th of July at 1 o'clock in the morning, or New Year's or whatever. It's annoying. But do I feel like it's the government's job to step in and tell me how I can celebrate a holiday, or how I can live my life? And I don't think that that's the case. And so my point telling this story is, whatever happened to, if my neighbor is always blows off fireworks at 1, 2, 3 in the morning or whatever happened to walking next door and saying, hey, look, I have a 3-month old kid, that's going to try and sleep, or my dog is so panicked he's rubbing his nose off on the carpet, like,
Right.
this year, could you kind of try and keep it down? That doesn't happen anymore. We've lost our entire sense of community, and that to me comes from this over reliance on social media, and that comes from, say, being isolated for 2 years and not being able to socialize. So we've lost this sense of community, who our neighbors are, and how do we participate in community, because we don't talk. All we are is an avatar and an opinion that gets put out online. So all these people, rather than going and having a face-to-face conversation with their neighbor. Now they're complaining about it on social media, and then that becomes a movement. And then now the city council needs to decide whether they should mandate or legislate the use of fireworks.
Right. When it probably all started from a few complaints. And I used to have a boss that I worked for, and his name was Alan Beck. And if you went, so, news people are notorious for bitching
Yeah.
and complaining. So when somebody would come in his office and say, I think this, so-and-so needs to stop doing this. And he goes, well, what's the solution? Well, I don't have one. He said, don't come back in my office until you come in here. If you have a complaint, you always have to come in with a solution. And the complaints in the newsroom dropped in half because people weren't looking for a solution. They were looking to complain. And I think it says a lot about our culture.
Yeah, we just want to tear each other down.
Your neighbor and say, or confront each other. Because so rather than confront, what we're doing is backstabbing. So isn't that like the most biggest bunch of bullshit? I mean, you can't go to somebody and say, can you not do this, or but wait for and why is the city council, the other side, what happens is people don't look at the big picture. So all it is we have noise, we have to stop this. It's an irritant for some.
Right.
What I'm hearing from people writing me is how many churches, nonprofits, Cub Scout groups, all these people who make a big profit to keep their groups going and their churches going from the sale of fireworks. So what happens to them then? We're already in a recession. Now you're going to take away one more fundraising effort because 100 people in Eugene complained about fireworks. I mean, it's that's why no wonder people call it a nanny state. You know what I mean? Right.
And ultimately, then where does that end up getting that money go? It goes to the communities that aren't overbearing. Well, and so those communities can prosper, which is great. Right. Junction City will make some money.
That's what Tom says. It's insanity. Is you go to Junction City and Cottage Grove, buy your fireworks, and there's no way they're going to stop people from celebrating freedom.
And even those celebrations, I would argue, in some ways, even though I may not agree with the method of it, that's also a community building thing.
So Tom says on here, social media has done this to our society. They moved their booths to neighbor cities. That's right, Tom.
Yeah, exactly.
I get what you mean about social media. I think it's a way for people who are bitter and angry and have no life to troll people and be big man or big woman on the block with their big balls and come in and say things that they'd never say to you.
No.
There's a person, and I'm not going to say too much because they're on here a lot, but they'll come on here and taunt and throw little things like that. And then I saw him with this person when I was back in town, hi, how you doing? And I'm like, wow, that's interesting.
Wow.
It's like, I don't see you writing the snarly little comments that you're doing. And then, and we got to be able to face up to people. And I think there's a real lack of that socialization of people.
There is.
Tim, I know you're going to take off on this too, because I want you to. There's the other thing that they said on this podcast that I wanted to talk to you about is like young people. I'm seriously concerned about people of youth. In fact, this month, I'm going to have a number of different people from different places that I'm in contact with that have come to me and said, I'm really concerned about our country. And these are millennials and younger. I don't know what the next one down is, but it's all these groups. But they were saying on this, young people are starving for relationships that are meaningful and that's deeper, to talk about deeper things rather than social clubs, drinks, and bullshit. They don't want the surface stuff. Now, that's not all young people, but I think there's this bunch of young people out there who are going, because I get them on my page. We attract, I'm not bragging, I'm just saying we attract a lot of young viewers.
Absolutely.
Because they're going, and they'll say, I don't even agree with you, but you're saying something that sparks to them. Do you find that with your age group people? Because you're in your 30s. And
I do, yeah, right. And I would consider myself to be more introverted, so I probably skew larger towards feeling that way, because meaningful conversation is so important, and there is so little of it.
Why?
Because we're humans. We're meant to to communicate and really work together, you know, in small, legitimate communities. Yeah, exactly what Abby's saying, right? Nobody wants to talk about anything that's real. And you know, and okay, so again, I think the media helps to contribute that, because there's this huge discord that everybody's divided by their views, their thoughts, what they say, whatever, which we talked about. But
Do you think we're afraid? Are we? I think that, you know, are we afraid to talk about things because we don't want to make people not like us or mad? Or I mean,
I think that's a really good point. It's not something that I had thought of, but yeah, because of the divide that exists already right now. Do you want to get yourself typecast even more? Most people don't, you know, and I think that's the reason why younger people um, are gravitating to the show, is because you give people a voice.
right. I don't have to be right. I'm not that. I'm like, I feel like Joe sometimes, except he's got a bigger audience, but I'm not the smartest guy on the planet. But you know what? I do know how to communicate, and I do know what, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid.
And
And
who's to
that's
say
what
what's right anyways, you know?
right. I don't know. I mean, I think we're all going to get to the end of this thing, and, you know, whatever you believe, but, you know, you're standing there
Yeah.
and goes, well, Rick, you know, you have 30%, you go in that line. You did pretty well though. Cause look at the 20%. That's 90% of the world, you know?
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
I don't think this is about getting it right, but
No.
maybe that's the problem is we think whose life, I mean, I do videos on documentaries on people who are very wealthy in the communities, and
Right.
everybody has their shit.
Yeah,
And
no
and
doubt.
and so why maybe we make people feel like um, they have to be perfect or you can't. What concerns me, Tim, is about with young people is I think we're scaring them out away. We're making them feel like you like the world is hopeless and that you can't make anything of yourself. And I was listening to Rogan this morning, and he was
Yeah.
saying, you know, the difference between so many people is they just kind of exist. And then he goes, but the people, like he was using, you know, Michael Jordan as an example and saying,
Right.
you know, Michael Jordan's the best athlete probably in the world, but
Yep.
he's also kind of an asshole.
Yep.
And he doesn't like to lose, even
Right.
at ping pong or anything. And he
Yeah.
says, are you willing to have someone else's life? Or they were using Tiger Woods as an example.
Yeah.
Abused as a kid, terrible growing up years, and now look at his life. It's a mess. He's on drugs. I mean, he's
Right.
so here's the whole package. Do you really want to be one of the best golfers in the world? So here's the cost of that.
Yeah,
And
exactly. That was exactly what I was going to say, is the totality of someone like Michael Jordan, is that in order for him to be, you know, arguably the greatest basketball player of all time, there has to be some sort of a trade-off. He can't be good at everything, you know? And so he's obviously going to have his own flaws, as all of us do, you know? And so his greatest asset and his talent entertained millions of people worldwide for 20 years. Yet if he were to have a one-on-one conversation with you, or you'd be hanging out with him at his house and beat him at pool or something like that, you wouldn't think the greatest thing of him.
right.
But everyone adored him, and he brought so much joy to so many people's lives. That's the totality of Michael Jordan.
Well, Joey said he's blaming social media again, says people believe they are hopeless because of social media. And I think part of that is too, the bullshit factor on social media. People, you know, I mean, I know people, friends, and they only post, you know, oh, little Johnny's makes me so proud.
Right.
It's like reading a Hallmark card.
Yeah.
It's the very reason I hated Father's Day, because my dad and I didn't see eye to eye on stuff. And my
Right.
worst nightmare was going and picking a card that didn't say, you're everything to me, but could say, hey, you know, I realize you tried your hardest, but there were no cards. It was all this bullshit, you know, that was
Yeah, again, and accepting someone in their totality.
right. And who they really are. And social media lets you lie. It lets you put on only the
Oh,
good
yeah.
things, like not to expect people to put, I'm not going to put video of Kathy and me having a fight. I mean,
No, of course not.
that's a little personal, but I mean, I also am willing to get on there and go, you know what, life is not going that well right now. And,
Right. Yep.
this is
You are
hard.
awesome at that.
And I'm not afraid to look, I don't know. I think maybe people need to be foolish. Maybe we need to be not stupid and ignorant like our politicians, but maybe we need to be more foolish,
Yeah. And vulnerable.
vulnerable. What is that? So what does that mean to you? What does vulnerable mean to you?
I think that it's like the willingness or ability to portray yourself in the most transparent way that you possibly can in order to facilitate stronger connections and relationships with those people that you're sharing that with. Not everybody deserves to hear everything about you. There are
Right.
select people that deserve more vulnerability than others, but
trust,
you have to be willing to do it.
and you have to be trustworthy.
Yeah.
There has to be a trust. Like Tim and I, we love each other.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We met at Fifth Street Market. I saw
Provisions.
his deodorant online, and I said, natural deodorant made in Eugene. How come I don't know who this guy is? And we met, and then our relationship deepened. And then some other things someday we'll tell you about happened and came up, made it more difficult. And we kept pushing. And now Tim actually works with me and Kathy on our show, and Kim and Bill, and we all work together and do stuff. But we have these kind of conversations, and I think I think it's because I wonder if people are afraid to fall in like with people, or that if I let you know too much, then you may not like me because I have warts and boils and zits and things that don't work right, and maybe that's part of the fear.
Yeah, but it also, in my experience, it is also, I think, one of the deepest connecting modalities that there is. If you can share, if you can turn the light on and that's in that closet with the skeletons and allow certain people to see them, and that they're okay with them, there's no better relationship than those relationships, and you and I have that, and you're one of my dearest, most cherished friendships that I have, in life.
Because that if and we've had this experience when someone comes in to try to take you out, it's like, fuck you. You're not jumping on. But see, maybe people are afraid to be, and here's a weird term for friendships, but intimate. And I don't mean in the way that people think, but if you have an intimate relationship with people, then they can hurt you.
Right.
So if you put walls around, and like you said, I mean, I have people like you. There's a few who are in that place where there's no holes barred, and then I have a bigger net that kind of goes out here, and that's just smart human beings. But I think many people don't have. After listening to that quote in that show this morning, I think there's too many young people that have no one.
Right. It's true.
No one. And and because you look at how many people are following Jordan Peterson, Joe Rogan, Chris Williamson. I mean, these people who are speaking into people's lives, especially young men, I think.
Yep, it is.
Speaking into their lives, saying, you are better than this. You should have dreams and hopes and aspire to be everything you want to be. And yet we have a government who's paying people not to work. They shut us down for 2 years. I think people thought, like, with me and the lockdowns, it wasn't to me, it was social thing. It was like you cannot read any. I was a huge student in college of socialization.
Sociology.
Sociology. I loved it. I just craved it. And you look at any literature and you do that to people, and look at the ramifications. We're still suffering with it right now. And there's people who will never get over this. And I'm worried about young children.
I am too.
That you think this is normal to, I see them, and, they'll kind of look at you like that. It's like, that you cannot do that to people. And that's what I was frustrated with. But all people said is, you're anti-vax, you're an anti-masker.
Right.
It's like doing the name calling. So here's the name calling, rather than going, what's the big picture of what Rick folks are really saying, because honestly, I bet 80% of them would agree with me,
Oh
but
yeah.
they were so scared and fearful because of how the media, everybody played it up and what we were all thinking at that time, that all of a sudden it became you're killing people because you think people shouldn't be locked down. I mean, what the
Right. Yeah.
that, I mean, that,
And how, right. I mean, gosh, the ultimately what it really came down to with you during COVID and a lot of the content that was coming out was it was really just asking people to think critically
right,
and perhaps challenge what they were being told. Not that you were saying that it's wrong,
right.
but just let's think about this in a little bit broader context and get deeper here and
That's
try and figure out what the impact of this is going to be.
that's what was interesting to me is that in the beginning I was being real careful and just
Yeah,
saying
right.
we would question things because I was a reporter, and yet I'm watching all these former reporter friends of mine on Facebook, just like getting in line
Yeah.
and taking the pill and
Right.
walking
The
pie and
blue
going,
pill,
yeah, the
not
blue,
the red,
not the red, and
and
going,
not the good blue pill.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There's reasons for that, folks.
Yeah.
So, so what is your I want to give you a couple seconds to talk about your stuff too. But so my last question would be, what is your like, where do you get your hope? Where do you, how come with, and we'll just all ask it this way, and you could just leave it the way you want. With all that you've been through and seen, what's the gift?
I think that ultimately it really comes down to the perspective that I think hardship brings on people. It doesn't matter what you're going through in life, and it doesn't matter. I also don't feel like, um, whatever my life experiences are compared to what your life experiences are, compared to what any person that's watching this right now, their life experiences are. They may be going through something that might seem like it's the most difficult thing in the world, and it may pale in comparison to having cancer, right? It may pale in comparison to that. But in that person's mind, that's the worst thing that they could ever go through
Right.
because that's the worst thing that they know. And no matter what that is, that experience is real, but there's something that you're going to learn about yourself that you're going to be able to pull out of that, and some appreciation that you're going to have that you didn't have from that in the past. And that's what gets people to move forward.
So because of things that happened in your past, you think that when the lockdown came, it was easier for you to do because you understood.
Well, I feel like that, but again, somebody else might have had a completely different opinion.
But what,
Sure, sure.
but but when we're separated, this is what bothers me. Is then when we're separated though, then you and I can't share.
No.
So then
Right.
I'm not getting strength from you, because I think the way we're created is to live in community and need each other.
We
And so
have to.
we've got people who don't want each other. They're too afraid to even step into a relationship with people.
Right.
And I would just say to people, gosh, just if I mean, and I understand this moving to a new town. I'm learning. When I was in Eugene and Springfield and Lane County in Oregon, I went everywhere and everybody knew who I was. So
Yep.
it was easy for me to go up and go, "Hey, what's your name?" When people think, "Oh, Rick Dancer's asking me my name."
Right.
Now in Montana, I go up and people are like, "Are you hitting on me? What are you asking me for? What are you saying?" Because it's not the same. And so it's been really good for me because I'm learning to depend on a different Rick Dancer than the Rick Dancer that was on TV, because he doesn't exist here in Montana. So here in Montana,
Yeah, and I can imagine for you, I mean, if you're out in the community, say in Eugene, for example, and somebody already knows who you are, then in some way, like you're the news anchor guy, and like it's there's a story attached to it,
right,
and
they've
so
been
you're going to get
been
kind
in
of,
the
I'm
area.
not saying you get a canned response, but you're going to get a certain type of response. Whereas if you're in Townsend and no one knows who you are, or what you do or anything like that, it's probably a little bit more of a genuine response that's real. And then, I mean, obviously I know you quite well, so there's like, you're going to connection with that individual. And I think in anyone, that whole community thing is almost in some ways like this share, like commiseration. And so I can share my bad experiences or what I'm going through or how I've had a bad day. You can share your bad experiences and how you had a bad day. And I might be able to say, well, geez, in looking at what Rick is going through today, I didn't have a bad day, like I shouldn't feel like that. Or what did you take from that experience? Wow, maybe I should apply that to my life.
Right. I was telling you, I could tell the story here because it's too complex, but a woman at the gym here who's from Oregon has been through some really hard stuff in Oregon, and now is going through some hard stuff here. And it felt so great for Kathy and me to be standing there and able to support her. And she goes,
Yeah.
I don't know anybody here. And I go, you know us. Here's
Right.
our phone number. You call us when you need us. And you're going,
Yep.
okay, there's a brick. I'm building community.
Yep.
And the other
Exactly.
funny thing is when Dr. Bratland Michael was with Kathy and me at the beach when we went fishing over when I was back home or back in Oregon. And he said when I wasn't around, and he said to Kathy, does Rick have any idea that people don't treat people this nice, as nice as they do to him, because they all know who he is?
Right.
And she goes, no. And that's been a really hard thing for him in Montana, is because I don't have the open invitation where people just gravitate to you because they grew up with you in their house.
Yep.
And so the good thing in that is that I ended up in a really super kind community.
Yes.
And they will, be patient with me, and but I'm having to learn how to socialize as a regular person and not the guy who used to be on TV. And I think I needed that at 63. I think the other is super fun. I'm not going to lie.
Right.
But I think it just, it kind of makes me a more well-rounded Rick Dancer.
And you're a person that has always, in all the time that I have known you, you always like a challenge and the opportunity to kind of stretch that comfort zone. And this, I think, is another opportunity for you to do that and to assimilate into a community, Right.
And it's in a quieter,
right.
non-comfortable.
Yeah.
And I really feel like I'm Helen Keller. I'm going blind. I'm just, I have met with county commissioner. I've met with, I'm calling, they have a little paper. And so I'm going to go meet with them and start writing an article for them in the paper. Cause it's not so that I'm I don't want to, it's not like I'm coming in here to just, I got to be a part of this thing. But if I'm living here, I have to be part of the community. I don't want to be I don't want to be somebody who's just out there not doing something, I want to be productive. I want to help in a way that they want to be helped. I don't think they need help. I just want to say, what can I bring to the table? And if it's nothing, that's fine. But I want to know what you believe and what you think,
Yeah. And you'll find your little niche as far as what you can contribute to that community,
Rick Dancer with tattoos is the much cooler TV Rick Dancer. Yeah. And my cool hair.
Yes.
And somebody here said, Christine, Betsy Johnson is more than 10 points behind Kotek and Drazen. Yeah, that's true. At this point, I think she has 18%. Christine has 32, and Kotek has 31%. So what's your point?
There's still a lot of time to go, and isn't there like 20% of the vote is still undecided at this point?
Well, and the thing is, okay, this is a perfect example. So you get to say what you want to say, and that's fine. Yeah. But people come on my page and they're so nasty because I'm supporting Betsy Johnson. And if you would bother to ask me the question, I'll tell you I have a method and a motive. I did this shit. Okay. I ran for office. I understand this is a big fucking game.
Right.
And the way this works is, if there's polling out there that if you had Betsy and Drazen and Kotek right now, only those two in the race, Kotek would kick Drazen's ass.
Yeah.
Not even, that's what the polling shows.
Yeah.
You got Betsy in there and she comes to the top. So one of the things I think Betsy wants to win. She's a fighter.
Of course.
I hope she does. But here's the thing. One of the things that Betsy said when she started this race to me was, all I care is that Kotek does not become the governor of Oregon.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and she could make that happen even if she loses. Because
Yeah. Right.
because if she loses and all those votes go to Drazen, or she steals from Democrat votes from Kotek, that's what you need. If you headed those two up together right now,
Right.
you're Drazen, and I like Christine a lot. You wouldn't
Yeah.
stand a chance in hell. So
Right.
those of you bitching about Betsy, she may be your saving grace either way, if she becomes your governor or if she becomes your
Yeah.
reason that Drazen got to the top. Now, I said I
Yep.
wasn't going to get into politics, but you asked the question, and I'm going to throw it right back in your face, because there's a great example of, we ask me, hey, their
Yeah.
numbers are this. Why do you still support Betsy? And I could tell you and give you an answer, but that's not what people do. They jab and they go, and I'm not trying to pick on you, whoever that was.
No, and I think with Betsy, the thing that regardless of whether you support her or not, one thing that I feel like you can't argue with is, and this is true of all of the candidates, right? That she deeply, genuinely cares about the good of Oregon.
Right,
You know, it's not a party thing because she's not attached to one.
right.
She doesn't
And
have
so
any
here's,
affiliation.
but how we started this conversation too, nobody will let her get out of her party. It's
Right.
like, if people understand how this works, it's kind of like, I want to say a certain church, but once you excommunicate from a certain church that I won't mention, if you wanted to go back, go to hell, and they'll
Right.
think you are. So she can't all of a sudden want to become a Democrat again. She's blown that one, and so it's not like she's going in there and faking it. And
No,
yes,
more or less, I feel like she's essentially martyred her political career for what she feels is the good of Oregon.
exactly, and I think that's exactly what I think she's doing. And I don't know this. I know her well, but I don't know her like this. But
Right.
when this is all over, I'm sure, like me, she'd be disappointed that if she didn't win.
Yeah.
But I bet she'd be, if Drazen wins, I bet she'd be like, we did it.
Yeah.
Because the end goal really is to not have Kotek in that seat, because that's going to be the worst thing for Oregon ever.
Sure.
And she knows it, and Drazen knows it. So for all you people out there who are still, Betsy, maybe you ought to do your homework, and maybe
Right.
you ought to do a little research and do what we've been talking about here, is call her staff and ask them the questions that you're asking, or saying to me, because that's how.
Absolutely.
So who is Drazen? Well, Cece, that's the Republican running for governor in Oregon. And yeah, the other thing is, it's a long, October's a long way, and Betsy's got a ton of money. So,
Right.
but either way, the good news is, from what I know, if you get Christine or you get Betsy, you're going to be in great shape. And I will probably cry just knowing that my former home state is going to be okay. If Drazen wins, I am going to throw myself on the ground and cry for you, because you are in that bad a trouble. I mean, how
Yeah.
not? I'm sorry. Oh, anyway, Tim, gosh, real quick. So you guys, Tim makes this deodorant,
Yep.
and other things, hair products. But I want you to show people right now. He's selling this stuff like you wouldn't believe, because show them this deodorant, the Hunter's deodorant.
Yeah. So when I started the business, I'm a bow hunter myself, and there wasn't enough natural products on the market. Particularly, I felt like that catered towards men, but there was also, I felt like, a hole in the market in the hunting side of things, as far as being able to mask scent, right? And so I created deodorants that are scented with essential oils straight from trees. And so here's juniper, pine, and so they actually sell really well. Just as they're no different than the normal deodorants that I make. They still have all the probiotics, the detoxifying bentonite clay in them. They're just scented with trees. And so if you want to kind of blend into your surroundings, there you go.
So see, you guys, what that means was that elk are they smell you coming. So if you
Yeah.
have deodorant or something under your body odor, and they're smelling that, they're going, that doesn't smell like a cow.
No.
That's something scary. So if you're using, so then you won't stink, because you're going to be packing that sucker out of there. So you're going to be smelling up the storm.
Yeah.
And so you're not going to smell from BO, but you're also going to have this pine or juniper on there. that helps trick the elk. And you were telling me yesterday you're selling that shit like crazy, aren't you?
It has. I actually have been hardly able to keep up in the last few weeks because it's just been going like crazy. And so actually, for everybody that is watching or whoever will watch this, I have a 15% off discount code that is GT Rick Dancer, and that will get you 15% off your order, regardless of what you order. Deodorant, tree scent deodorant, hair clay, lip balm, whatever. It's 15% off your entire order.
Okay, Matt, would you put that on there? Did you see my secretary, Matt Kendall?
Yes, I did. Thanks, Matt.
So if you get Matt,
GT
always
Rick Dancer.
GT Rick Dancer, and you'll save 15%.
Yep.
And needed those in Idaho last weekend. Is that
Yeah,
Courtney?
there
You
you
guys
go.
needed that? Yeah, now you know. And
Yep.
it's made right there in Eugene, Oregon. So
Yeah.
one other thing before we go, I'd like to know from people, did you like this kind of interaction? Is this kind of what
Yeah.
you're looking for? We're trying to really, I guess, spice up what we do and kind of get into some new things. And because this relationship, this thing is so important, I've seen more numbers on here. Can you guys see those when they're on there? Tim, can you
Uh,
see it? I think it just comes to me. It shows me how many people are watching on here.
yeah. When
And
you watch live, it tells you how many people are watching live.
yeah, well, and it never gets it right because what people don't
No.
understand is this is one page.
Right.
And now this is on like 8 or 10 different pages all at the same time.
Yeah.
But if this is something we'd love to, we're going to be doing a survey next week and
Yes.
ask you what kind of content you're looking for, what kind of stories. But I'd like to know if this, because I haven't seen the numbers bouncing around like that as much in the past. And I think Angela says this is a great show.
Yeah.
And,
Thanks, Angela.
yeah, so let us know what you
Yeah, it's
think.
just all about bringing value. We want to bring the best entertainment to everybody that's watching.
Yeah, we don't do. I mean, yes, I do this because I love to keep connecting with you guys, and I think we all have something to share. But I've never. My whole reason for being in news was to give you a voice.
Yeah.
And I got my voice, and I see more and more of you rising to the occasion, which excites the hell out of me.
Yes.
I see people standing up, especially when it's in kindness, and they're usually not the people with the kindness bumper stickers and stuff like that. Because
No,
people that really act kindly don't have to have something in their yard to remind them.
they don't. They just do it.
Absolutely love this show. Content like this is needed. All right, Courtney, that's what we
Cool.
want to know. So you guys share this on your page and let other people know
Yeah.
what was going on. And also, please pay attention to our sponsors. We cannot do this without Matt McCarl and CC, who's on here at
Yeah.
New Leaf Hyperbarics and Wellness Center. So go try it out. Go give them some love and keep them coming to us. Or if you know somebody who's having medical issues, different things going on, autism, all kinds of. We have a kid that they're going to bring on, not the kid, but the dad.
Yeah.
And this child is learning sentences now, and they think part of it is this treatment that he's getting. So, I mean, there's not medical proof of that, but things are getting better. They bought one, put it in their house, and now they're using it. And the boy, he told me today that the kid Matt just put it in, and the kid is so excited to go in there. He's doing it like several times a day
Wow.
and really liking it. So anyway, so that's what we want to know. And I'm kind of going down here looking at one more. Okay. All right. Perfect.
Yeah.
Lots more content. People talk negative nonsense. Thank you, Rick. It's nice getting away from and also the other thing you can do for me is let me know what good stories are out there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Things are going on. So
Yeah.
Tim, thank you for being my
Thank
friend.
you, Rick. This was a good conversation, and everybody that stuck around, thank you as well.
All right, we will. So tomorrow night we got the Wacko night. That's when we got Bill London. He's crazy, and I already saw his news, and it's like you're gonna love this. Bill is back, and then I think Rob from Base and Tackle in Charleston is going to be joining us. Kim Stark and Miss Tabitha Compton.
Yes.
Compton Family Wines. They're going to be serving wine over at the Eugene Country Club. So Kim, they're going to join us from over there, and I do have my Compton wine. In fact, you know what I could do? Let me show you something.
Yeah, let's see.
Let's do. Where is that video for tomorrow? Is that it? Yeah, that's it. Okay, so hold on. I'll show you guys something. Okay. 6731.
While Rick is looking this up, Rick alluded to the fact that we're going to be sending out a survey. And so if you're not signed up for his email list, if you would do us a favor and go and sign up for that email list, then when we send this out early next week, then you'll be able to get it, and then you can provide your opinion in through that survey. So we would really appreciate signing up for that email list.
And when they just go to rickdancer.com, right?
Yeah, rickdancer.com. Yep.
Okay, here's Tabitha.
Hey lady, can you haul that stuff to my truck, please, for me?
Sold out of wine. Rick Dancer bought all the wine. Sorry.
Full service. Compton's now has no more wine left. I'm kidding.
It's smoky.
Okay, so the back's full. And
I noticed it was bulging. I'm like, this must be theirs.
oh yeah, there's gonna be a lot of room in here.
Yeah, we got it in. We got everything in. And one of the cool things that we're going to do is when we have guests at our Airbnb, and we have some coming this weekend, we're going to give them a bottle of one of their really nice wines. I mean, it's not the over the top expensive, but we're giving them a very nice wine because they gave me a good deal. And they'll be getting that wine in one of their Compton cars so they can find out more, because you can order their wine online and save $15 on your first 2 bottles or more if you mention that you saw it on Rick Dancer. So
yes, if you guys haven't made it up to Philomath to visit the tasting room at Compton Winery, it's pretty awesome. Yeah. Matt and Tabitha are like the greatest people in the world. They're so great, and their wine is amazing. And you mentioned, Rick, that it's not expensive, but the reason is it's like super high quality wine. They just don't want to overcharge for it.
Well, and there are some expensive, they're old vintage, but
yeah,
but she tells you the difference when you're doing it.
For sure.
And there's staff there in the tasting room.
Amorous. Did you?
They're awesome, and you can ask them any question, and they know everything that they're talking about. So here's Matt doing his job again.
Yes.
And I'll give a little love to Matt too, because Matt, if you guys are looking for a realtor in town, Matt is, I know it's a weird time, but he can explain to you how this works and what's going on. But Matt is a great guy. Known him for 100 years, and I'm only 30. But he is a good guy, and he's always on our show.
And he's also very active on social media, and it's pretty entertaining.
That's my kind of guy. Yep. All right, Tim, I will talk to you later on. If not before, I'll see you on Tuesday.
All right. See you, Rick.
See ya. Tim and I have a weekly meeting on Zoom every Tuesday to keep on the same page. That's what you do when you have friends that you love. That's how you treat them. And if you guys are out there and you're somebody who doesn't have anybody in your life, man, I encourage you to find people, because it breaks my heart to think of people out there doing this thing alone. So you can always come here and we'll be your friends, but you need somebody in person who can hang with you. All right, share this on your page. We'll talk to you tomorrow night. We'll have a lot of fun. And you can't wait to see what I got planned next week. Some of it's so scandalous, I can't even put it on Facebook. I have to only put it on my website. All I'll say is Dick Morris. I know, just saying that could get me knocked off here, but that's what's coming up next week. I'll see you later.